Hi everyone, I'm JD, welcome back to my channel. So I've got another Junk Journal with Me video, and I've got this page spread with vintage ledger paper from the lovely Denise. Thank you, Denise. And I picked up this book, this lovely vintage book from 1944 from the op shop called This My Son. I think that's what it's called. It's a book of poetry, and I just love the patina of the pages, just that gorgeous colour. And so I knew I wanted to use this somehow in my vintage journal, and I knew I wanted to use this picture of the little boy in particular. And then I thought maybe I would try to do a collage on this page, and what ended up happening was the story or the theme or the meaning behind this page was, so hang on, let me go back. I've done pages in this journal so far on my grandma and my mum, and the grandma on my mum's side. So now I thought the boy could represent my dad, and then I could do a page for my other grandma, my dad's mum. And I thought that was really fitting. And so I'm pulling out some of these doilies. These are from my shop, my Etsy shop, Willowbound Journals. Except for two that I'm pulling out now, and a third one that you'll see an offcut of that I feature in this page. And these ones are from my grandma, so they're very, very special. She gave them to me long ago when I was a kid, and I'm glad I still have them. And I'm glad that I can preserve them in this way, featuring them in my journals. So there's this one here. It was a whole doily with a picture of a dog, and just an outdoor scene in the house and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just pulling out the ones from my grandma, different ones in different sizes, and I'm not sure which ones I'm going to use, but I narrow it down a little bit. And I especially love this one. That doily is so pretty. In the previous video I share some new digital linen packs in my shop, and I just share a few ways that I use digital linens in my own journal, and this video I hope this helps as well, show you how exactly I use them by showing you and not just telling. But hopefully I'll do later on another video where I can show all the different ways that I use them as a cover piece, as pages, as pockets, as tuck spots, as journaling spots, as labels, as date pieces. But yeah, that will come up later anyway. So I'm just playing around with my little collaging, and I'm really proud of this page because this is the first page I did in this journal completely by myself. So I was on my own, and I had to kind of figure it out on my own, and this is why it's a longer video, because I didn't just know where everything went before I started filming and could just place everything down straight away. This one I've had to, start from scratch, and you're seeing the whole process as I'm kind of working out, where does this go, and do I put this on the page, or do I add this or don't add this? So let me know which video you prefer, the one where it's completely from scratch and I just have a play around, or the one where I already know what I'm doing and then I just do the video and place everything where it is. Also let me know if you prefer shorter videos or longer videos, or you don't mind. Obviously this one's going to be a longer video because you get the full process of trying to place things on the page and working things out. Anyway, so I rip around the picture of the boy and the aeroplane because I thought that would give a nice, vintage look, aged look. And it was so fitting that there was an aeroplane because my dad used to want to be a pilot, so he loves planes. So that was kind of cool putting that there. And then I'm just trying to figure out where to put this doily. And in the end, I do place it fully on the page. I don't cut anything off or underlap it from anything because it's my favourite doily from my grandma, and I want to feature it, the whole thing. So just ripping this down smaller so that I can fit both the picture and the doily at the top on this page. So I cut down the doily as well, just so it fits nicer. And I like that I cut out the plane separately so that I could add it on top of the doily in that gap, in that space. And I'm really getting into, the art of just fussy cutting around things or ripping things out and individually ripping or cutting things out instead of just what I would normally do is just put the whole page on the page instead of cutting each individual thing out, like the words and stuff like you'll see later. And it really does heighten the page, I think, when you can individually isolate each element. It just, I don't know, adds a much nicer effect to the page. So then I just go through this book and I pull out a couple pages that I want to feature in the journal, because I want to highlight this book as much as possible on the page. So I pull out the first poem, the one that's named after the title of the book, so I thought that was fitting. And I wanted to keep all of the first verse at least. I wasn't too fast, I didn't even read the poem. I read a couple lines and thought, yeah, that's sweet, but I'm not too fast. It's just there for decoration and for the meaning. It captures, a mother's words to her son, and that's what this page is about with my grandma and my dad. So I'm just cutting this down as well, trimming it down so that it can fit at the top and so that I can see the whole of that first verse or stanza for a poem. And then I'll cover the bottom part with the doily. And so you can see how I cut off the top title part and separated that and put it on the left side page. So that was really cool. And here you can see I'm just thinking, do I trim this down? Do I show the whole poem? And then that's my priority. My priority isn't to show the whole poem. My priority is to show the whole doily. And then I want to, again, highlight this book as much as possible. And so I cut out the author. And I also cut out the publishing date and company or whatever it is, the details at the bottom of the title page. And I'm just trimming it down a little bit so that the title stands out more than the author's name. And then, just cutting out this piece. And then I place this at the bottom so it kind of reflects the way that the title page looked, and preserving that book in my journal. So I did play around with where to place it. I was thinking originally, do I place it somewhere else? But then I thought, no, let's just preserve the integrity of the book and make it look like the title page on the left-hand side. And instead, what I did was cut out this, because I love inscriptions in books. I love handwriting. And I think it's just so meaningful. And I love the script writing in this with the brown script text. I thought that was beautiful. And I love how it has a person's name and the date. And I just put that down there to overlap the doily, and it kind of brings everything together. We've got a lot of the book page all around both pages, and I was just really happy with how this layout looked. I could have done more, I could have added more pieces, but in the end I like the effect with this collage look and just keeping it simple with elements that speak to me. And then I thought I'd pull out my labels. I always pull out my labels because I like using these to write a title or a date or a keyword or thought or something. But in the end, I didn't use any of them, as you'll see later. But I spent quite a bit of this video trying to figure out what I can use. I had a couple options that I might have used, some green ones, but in the end, I just didn't use them. But I found some better things, which you'll see later. I also kind of had this idea that I wanted to use a different label for each page spread. So if I'd used one in a previous one, I couldn't use that again for the next one. But I think if it fits with the page, I'll just use it, even if I've used it before. So yeah, I ended up just stop playing around with those, and I pull out the Granny Chic book again. And I really enjoy using the Granny Chic book just to flip through the pages, and it's just got so much visual elements to it that you can cut out and use to embellish a page. And I thought I'd use this book because the connection is Granny. I would use the book Granny Chic because this is a page representing my grandma, and that's how I got away with using this and tied in the meaning. I pulled out that page because it had a picture of like a praying lady, and I thought that is a representation of my grandma. She always sent me birthday cards every single year, and with a Bible verse in there, and she would pray for me, and so I had that legacy in me. Just having a grandma who prayed over you is quite significant and everything, so, and touching. I didn't appreciate it as a kid, to be honest. Whenever I got the birthday cards, I was just like, oh, whatever. I wasn't interested in them. But as an adult, when I look back, I'm like, actually, what she did praying over me and all of that, that's just really building a legacy and has an impact on me, and I'm now, as an adult, grateful for that. So grandmas, it's not in vain. Yeah, your grandkids might not appreciate it at the time, but looking back, hopefully they will. I pulled out this page because it reminded me of my grandma. We would go there every Sunday, or a lot of Sundays, to visit her. My family would go visit her on Sunday afternoons, and we would have lunch with her or afternoon tea, and she was always one of those grandmas who would cook and bake. And so, she would make our lunches, and she would bake cookies and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so this one I pulled out. It says The Three Bears, and it's got a picture of Goldilocks. And this was so fitting because at my grandma's house, I would read her little golden books, and one of the little golden books was Goldilocks and the Three Bears. So that actually has quite a big memory for me. I remember spending time just reading those books, and every time I go there, well, not every time, but I would often reread those books. So yeah, I was glad I found that little piece. And I'm still trying to figure out, I want to represent this doily on the page as well, because these are the 3 doilies in my possession that I have from my grandma. So I want to at least feature all 3 in some way. And what I hit on was, I was thinking maybe using it as a label itself, cutting out a square and making it a label. But then what I hit on was I would back this little piece onto the doily. So it lifts the piece, and I also get to feature the doily. So I use the middle part, which just is a beautiful part of the doily. And I really like that because you don't need the whole doily. Usually in the past, I would just be like, I need the whole thing. But no, you don't. You can just highlight a little piece, and it makes it so special, even just a little piece. And sometimes it makes it even more special when it's just a little snippet. And yeah, I love it when it's 2 birds, 1 stone, or even 3 birds, 1 stone. I get to feature that. I get to lift this ephemera piece, and it just stands out more, and I just love how it works together. And I was playing around with putting it there, but I end up putting the other praying lady there. I end up putting that piece over here. I do trim down that doily a bit more so that I don't cover up those, I don't know what they are, trees or flowers. I want to show as much of the design as possible. So yeah, then I grab this page and I fussy cut out this lady. I call her the praying lady to represent my praying grandma. I did originally cut it out as a square, but when I was playing around with it on the page, I thought it would look better fussy cut. So yeah, just really loved how this page turned out as a tribute to my grandma as my dad's mum. And now all of my grandparents are represented in my journal. So that's kind of fun. And just capturing memories and special things to me in this journal, which is super meaningful, and I'm just super loving this journal because of the meaning packed into it and the memories packed into it. And I also do love using a combination of, pretty things, vintage finds, and actual ephemera from my life. So these doilies represent the ephemera from my life. The vintage book represents a vintage find, and the granny chic elements represent just pretty things. I was thinking of also including this page because of that wool, the ball of wool, because my grandma, every time we visited her, she would be sitting in the same chair with her basket of wool, and she would always crochet, knitting, embroidering, cross-stitching, all of that. Every time we visited, we would sit on the couches in the lounge room, and as we talked or whatever, she would be either knitting or sewing or doing something. But in the end, I didn't put that on the page because I didn't want to clutter it too much, and two, because I've already represented her making of, crochet and embroidery and sewing through the doilies themselves. So they can symbolize that alone, and I don't need anything else to record that or represent that. And now, finally happy with the layout, and I can glue everything down. Let me know if you like the longer videos or the shorter videos. If you like the shorter videos, I can still do these types of process videos where I'm trying to figure out where things go. What I'll do is I would just edit the video a lot heavier. I would cut out, for example, the gluing part like this. I would just cut this bit out. And I would find ways to trim down bits and pieces so that it would be a shorter video, but you can still see my whole process, figuring out, where does this go? Should I put this there? Should I do this or not? Because that might be helpful for some people. Or let me know if you just like the finished thing. I can, off camera, figure out where to place things, and then once I've figured it out, put the camera on and just start gluing things down. So I'd be interested to if you'd let me know. Because I know some people prefer short videos, some people prefer long videos, some prefer seeing the entire process, and some just prefer just seeing the page spread. And we'll just see what happens. I'm happy to, your wish is my command type thing. But in the end, I guess I'll just go with whatever's easier. These videos, these longer ones actually take, for me, are quite hard because I have to edit down such a long video, because even this video, it went for 40 plus minutes in total, and I've edited it down to 20 or so minutes. And then doing the voiceover, obviously the longer the video, the longer I have to fill the video with talking, so it might just be easier in the end for me to do the shorter videos, but we'll see. So like this, I could probably cut this out. All the gluing. And then I wanted to overlap this piece onto the doily just to bring together the page to, with the collage, I like overlapping a center point somewhere where things overlap. So I catch all. I catch the doily and I catch the book page by overlapping them with that element. And I think it just brings everything together nicely. And I was still playing around with these labels. But what I realised was that I don't need two labels. One, because I would only use the labels for one for the title and one for the date. And I realised that the title is already on the page, This My Son. And then I used my stamp, my vintage looking stamp, to add the date, because I thought that was fitting for this page. Each page in this journal I'm trying to put a title piece somewhere, just so that it highlights straight away to me when I turn to each page what this page was about, like the central theme, the central story, the central memory I'm trying to keep, or the central idea. So, for example, in a different page, the title was Mother, another one was Alice in Wonderland and the importance of imagination, dreaming and creating. What was the another one? Oh, so some of them, the important title piece was a quote. So Miffy's quote was on the page as a title piece. Pamela's quote was a title piece for another page. So I just like doing that for these pages. And then, yeah, I'm just journaling here. This is something I also could skip. I could just show me, writing the first line and then skip the middle part and then show the completed piece. But if you like seeing me write, I can leave it in. And I'm just writing about those memories, how on Sundays would go visit my grandma and she would bake and cook, and especially Anzac biscuits. Those were our favourites that she made. How she would knit and crochet and do all that kind of stuff, and how she would pray for me. So all those memories are recorded on this doily. And I love that. So when this journal is filled and when I'm, grey and old, I can look back at this journal and be like, oh yeah, I remember that memory of my grandma. And yes, I remember that memory of my mum and dad, or, of that quote that was really an important life lesson. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Bye.